Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. And on behalf of the Northwest University, welcome to the webinar that we have here today. It's wonderful to meet you in this digital and online environment. And I tell you, we have several speakers, experts from the Northwest University here today to talk to you about the area of plant health management. And they are all from the research niche area, food security and safety. I'd like us to start off with, because we have many people to give the opportunity to speak. But before we start, I kindly remind you that we do have a section on the platform here where you may post questions to our experts. I'll make sure that I convey it to them and I direct your questions correctly. If you'd like to know a little bit more about the niche area, food security and safety, then we have put some links in the comments section, and you're more than welcome to go and visit them. Visit our Northwest University website and you'll find more information on this research niche area. The theme of the webinar is plant health management, and it emanates from the United Nations Declaration of 2020 as the International Year of Plant Health. So in keeping with the international theme, we thought we'd kick things off with an international spokesperson, an international expert, and we're very happy on behalf of the Northwest University to welcome Dr. Lava Kumar from Nigeria here in this webinar to kick things off. Dr. Kumar is the head of Germplasm Health Unit and Virology and Molecular Diagnostics Units at IITA. He has several different areas of focus, all within this theme. Dr. Kumar, I hand it over to you. Thank you so much for being part of this webinar.
It's a pleasure. Thanks a lot for the invitation. And I congratulate Northwest University for taking this initiative to bring us together to discuss a very important aspect of safety. As you informed about my background, I work for International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. The headquarters of it is located in Ibadan, Nigeria, with our stations based all across sub-Saharan Africa. For instance, in Southern Africa, our sub-regional headquarters is in Zambia, Lusaka. And we have programs, active programs in Mozambique, Zambia, Angola, pretty much in almost all the countries where the key food staples such as cassava, maize, banana, plantain, soybeans, cowpeas, etc. are cultivated. My particular program focuses on ensuring plant health of the food security crops. And we take this as an interdisciplinary approach where we bring in a number of disciplines, and at the field level, we don't see a single disease for management. We take a holistic that affect the crops of the smallholder farmers in particular. One particular area that my program focuses is on the transboundary spread of pests and diseases. As a common saying goes, pests and pathogens don't need passports. They can fly around. And you may recollect right now the hot topic in sub-Saharan Africa is locust outbreaks and the fall armyworm. And more specifically in South Africa, there is a recent outbreak of banana bunchtop. All these have actually come from somewhere else and they are moving quickly. So my program focuses on how best we contain these pest invasions into new territories. And we do this using a range of approaches, the diagnostics in particular. And we also put a lot of emphasis on training. And what I would like to put in this particular theme to the speakers and the panel members is quite often it is not the technology that is the limitation. It is actually the use of it. one area that there is a need for more stress is addressing the bottlenecks that is preventing application of technology for a real solutions. I mean, for the real problems, so that the end users can benefit from the technology and then see the profit coming out of the forms. So I stop here and be happy to address any of the questions that is coming out from the participants.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kumar. It's wonderful to have you here, and thank you for availing yourself to us for this webinar. It's really nice to have you here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're moving on to our next speaker, and this time from the Northwest University. It's a great honor to welcome Professor Collin Ateba. Now, Professor Ateba, I tell you, when you talk with him in conversation, he's a fascinating man. He focused with his PhD in microbiology, and his research expertise is in the area of applied and environmental microbiology. I'll stop there, Professor Ateba, and give you the floor. Professor Ateba, are you still with us? Right, we'll see if we can connect with Professor Ateba perhaps a little bit later on. We seem to have a technical difficulty in connecting with Professor Ateba. Let us then just move on to Professor Mulunda Mwanza. Professor Mwanza is a veterinarian by profession, but he has a passion for the academic world and research activities. Professor Mwanza, we are in your hands.
Good afternoon, colleagues, and good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to this webinar. And we are very happy to have all of you on this talk on plants. As introduced, I'm mostly based in Mafeking on the Mafeking campus, and I'm part of the food safety niche. And as part of our research and collaboration which we do, I work mostly on fungi and mycotoxins in foods and in feed. We look into the impact of these fungi and mycotoxins on human and animal health. As part of this topic today, I would like to talk a bit more about fungi. We have different types of fungi which are contaminating plants, and especially during the harvesting. We have different types of fungi such as Fusarium, Aspergillus, and other fungi which are contaminating plants. The issue with these fungi is that they contaminate and they affect these plants, and most of the time they affect the cereals and the food which are produced. And these fungi, they produce also some secondary metabolite which we call the mycotoxins. That means they are produced just in reaction to the environment. And actually in our research currently, we are working mostly on the impact of this, the environment and climate change on the behavior of this fungi in terms of production of mycotoxins. We know that these fungi, they can produce mycotoxins, and this mycotoxin can affect the animal and human health in different, and the most important one are aflatoxins, which cause even death of human and animals when they consume them in the cereals. So there is a really big problem and challenge in terms of controlling these fungi. As we cannot control them in the environment, we need to control them when we collect the feeds, or we collect the cereals and the feed, and when we produce food and feed in the storages. That's where we have major problem and major issues on how to control them, because they continue to produce this mycotoxin. So our research group focuses mostly on the control and the testing and control of these fungi and mycotoxins in the different cereals and food. Currently, we are working also with the different producers in South Africa, where we are looking on the effect of this, of the environment, on the storage, on the production of mycotoxins, and the behavior of fungi in the changing climatic changing environment. So that is in a nutshell, what we are doing and our participation in this plant health to ensure that we work with farmers in collaboration with farmers. We try to advise them on how they can be able to produce safe plants or safe cereals which cannot contain too much fungi. We cannot completely control them, but they are always there. But we need to interact with farmers. We need to interact with the producers from the farm up to the storage to see how we can be able to control and reduce or minimize the impact of these mycotoxins and fungi in the cereals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mwanza. It's nice to hear from you. I see some questions are already coming through. We'll get to those questions in a moment. So thank you for posting them. We'll get to your questions. Also, those of you who said that you're struggling a little bit with the connection, it seems that when you reconnect again or just refresh, then things happen all right for the webinar. Okay, Professor Ateba, are you still with us? Professor Ateba?
Yes. Yes.
All right, thank you, sir. Now it's your turn. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Professor Ateba. I introduced him briefly a little bit early on, but his focus is, Professor, broadly speaking, microbiology. I'll leave it to you to explain a little bit better.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues, and thank you to the Northwest University, the niche area, Prof. Babalola, through your leadership, to put such an interesting issue on the table for us to discuss about plant health. I am in the food security and safety, and whilst we understand that food security is a very important issue in which, when addressed, it's not only, it deals a lot with accessibility, but within the niche area, my focus is on food safety, where we look at microbial contamination in foods. I must also indicate here that whilst we concentrate on food safety, the idea is also to ensure that from a unit, they meet all the objectives and goals of the program. My research principally, together with my research group, is to look at microbial contamination, as well as addressing strategies that would limit microbial contamination, especially with multi-drug resistant and virulent microbial strains, antibiotic resistant strains. We do that not only by surveillance, in order to meet some of the by the WHO, but we also try to develop strategies from a laboratory perspective at the moment that should help combat these multi-drug resistant strains that are circulating out there. To achieve that, we have a threefold approach. One of which is either it's directed towards isolating what we call bacteriophages at the moment. And these bacteriophages, though very specific, we try to prepare concoctions at the moment that would increase their potential to destroy these multi-drug resistant strains. I must also highlight that multi-drug resistance results to a lot of problems in the society that include extended stays in hospitals, antibiotics not working. So these phages that we work with is directed at increasing the potential to destroy these microorganisms that we know are a problem. While we develop these phage concoctions, the idea has been to commercialize, and that you can do as an individual. And through associations with some pharmaceutical companies at the moment, like Nembao that I want to mention, we've engaged with them, and we've developed links such that the metabolites produced by these phages could be further characterized and could be used from a large scale and industrial process to develop anti-infectives. At the moment, I should also indicate that we have over 50 concoctions that are present in our labs. And through the development of these concoctions, we were able to train a number of graduate students and not just produce theses that sits on the table or in shelves, but we also have products that are sitting there that could save lives for mankind. Although at the moment we've not directly involved our work with plants, but through this forum, I can also indicate that there is a potential to take that route where we look at limiting these contaminants in plants out there, because food security or food safety can only be ensured when the food product does not cause harm on consumers. Basically, that's what we do at the moment, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much, Prof. Ateba. It's nice to hear from you, a man whose concoctions are making a positive impact in this world. Thank you, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Dr. Khosi Ramachela. Now, Dr. Ramachela started out with in agriculture as a first degree, but later on specialized. He has over 35 years of experience as a practitioner in the field of horticulture, forestry, agriculture, and climate change. Dr. Ramachela, we look forward to hearing from you.
All right. Good day, everybody. All right. Okay, fine. So I can proceed maybe without any PowerPoint. Yes. My profession is a plant pathology, also an environmentalist concerned with climate change. My major interest was as aspect that in agriculture, it was like you grow big or get out. So it's like farmers, when they're growing big, they had to use fertilizers, chemicals, and that resulted in damage and pollution of waterways. And so my concern was the issue of developing a non-chemical based plant protection systems. So my major interest is the use of biocontrol agents, inclusive of mycorrhiza inoculation in the control of soil-borne diseases. So as it is now, we currently on the market, we have Trichoderma azenium, which controls soil-borne pathogens like Rhizoctonia, Fusarium, and Pythium. So unfortunately, the Trichoderma is biggest challenge is a lack of persistency, particularly in the same arid regions. So in our area and many other dry regions, it's a challenge. So we are currently working on isolating native fungal species in the soil. And one which we have identified is a penicillium, which is shown mycoparasitism and also aspect of endophytic effect that stimulates seedling growth. We have tested this penicillium in terms of its biosafety on various other vegetable species, and it is relatively safe. So it is a candidate which we want to develop maybe a inoculum which would impregnate it with mycorrhiza, so that this synergistic combination of the mycorrhiza protection and also the penicillium fungus. So at the end, I think is a product which is on the pathway for commercialization. I think before the end, I might have a product which we need to distribute for field testing. Maybe part of the members in the team here might have samples to send out for field testing, so that the results are independent. Maybe they should be tested against the current commercial product, which is Trichoderma. So this is the feature of biological control, particularly in vegetable seedlings. So it might product come in as a seed treatment and also come in as applied in the field, possible as pellets in vegetable production systems. I think in brief, this is what we're focusing on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Khosi. Lots to look forward to towards the end of the year in terms of your work as well. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Dr. Ayansina Ayangbenro. Dr. Ayangbenro has a research interest, and this is fascinating, includes biodegradation and bioremediation of polluted environments. If I have it correctly, Doctor, you've done some work with gold mines as well. Also focuses on biopolymer production, the ecology of soil microorganisms, and the recycling of nutrients, as well as plant microbe interactions. That's a mouthful. Dr. Ayangbenro is a postdoctoral fellow at the Northwest University. Good day, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Ayansina. I'll be talking on plant microbe interaction and the control of some fusarium pathogens that affect maize, which is a major food crop in South Africa. Presently in our lab, we have done some bulk control against this fusarium, which is a major pest of maize in South Africa. So we have isolated some plant growth promoting organisms which can serve as bulk control of Fusarium gramineum and Fusarium pomorum in particular. And they cause about 60% of crop losses as regard to maize in South Africa. So particularly Bacillus species and Pseudomonas species have been isolated. Their active compounds have also been extracted and characterized. And some of these active compounds are that we have characterized are pyrrolitrin from Pseudomonas and rhamnolipids as well. And then we have also surfactant and iturin, which have been characterized, which are very active against Fusarium pomorum and Fusarium gramineum. So the next phase of the work is basically to look at the pathway of pathogenesis of how these active compounds, how they actually inhibit the growth of Fusarium on the field, which is the next phase of the work. So basically, we are finished with the laboratory aspect of it. We have seen that these active compounds, they are able to inhibit the growth of these organisms on plates. We have characterized the active compounds. So the next phase is field application and see the pathogenesis network. Then we'll be able to see, are these active compounds really active on the field? And then from there we are able to commercialize it and then use them as biopesticide in control of Fusarium gramineum in particular. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ayangbenro. It's nice to hear the methodology outlined as you've outlined it now. Thank you very much. Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is Dr. Obianuju Emmanuel. Now, Dr. Emmanuel is a research officer at the National Horticultural Research Institute in Nigeria. Her research interest is the development of soil fertility improvement strategies. Dr. Emmanuel, we are in your hands.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I am Obianuju Emmanuel. Yeah, and I'm happy to be in our midst today. So I'm presenting about the potentials of underutilized vegetables for food and nutrition security, especially in South Africa. You know, this is part of plant biodiversity conservation, so that some of these plant species that are underutilized will not find out everything that will to eliminate everything that will limit the yield of all these underutilized vegetables. And we have a lot of them that are underutilized. Examples are amaranth, we have cocorus, Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. So I was saying our research in the lab as regards underutilized vegetable borders mostly on trying to eliminate everything that will limit the yield of these underutilized vegetables. And we use two interventions for this, isolating some of the beneficial plant growth promoting bacteria from the rhizosphere of these underutilized vegetables, and then with conventional agronomic practices, trying to incorporate them in an integrated manner so that these underutilized vegetables can be promoted, especially amongst the rural poor and the smallholder farmer. And one of the ways we seek to intervene in this is participating with smallholder farmers so that they can be encouraged to grow these vegetables so that it will not go into extinction. We also seek to encourage backyard farming, especially among the women folk, the housewife, just surrounding their home, they can plant some vegetables that they can use to feed the family. And then we're also promoting the inculcation of these underutilized vegetables into mainstream agriculture in South Africa. So that's basically what we are doing. And we know that with time, food and nutritional insecurity in South Africa can be tackled if these underutilized vegetables are incorporated into daily diets. Especially, they are very good. They go along with starchy staples that are consumed mostly in South Africa. And presently, cultivation, there's not much data on the cultivation and the production of these underutilized vegetables in South Africa, mostly because they are harvested from the wild after the rain. So cultivation is rare. And some large-scale farmers have not really deemed it fit to go into the production of all these underutilized vegetables. So that is part of our work here, trying to create awareness on the benefits of these vegetables and the agronomic practices that will promote the growth of these vegetables. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Emmanuel. It's nice to hear from you, and we look forward to your contribution later on when we tackle a few of these questions that are coming through. Our next speaker is Dr. Nicholas. Dr. Nicholas focuses on microbiology, specifically microbial contributions towards the increase of crop produce in the midst of global food insecurity. Now, Dr. Nicholas has been all over the world, and now today also on the digital world. Dr. Nicholas, can you hear me? Nothing yet. We'll try and get back later on to Dr. Nicholas. Let's move on to Dr. Adenike Amoo. Dr. Amoo, very interested in the manipulation of soil microbes for plant growth and development. Dr. Amoo, we are in your hands.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm grateful to the Northwest University and Professor Babalola for this platform. I just want to educate us a bit on the manipulation of soil microbes for plant growth and development. Okay, due to increasing demand for food globally, which is as a result of the increasing population, farmers have turned to the use of fertilizer in order to be able to meet this demand for food. But chemical fertilizers have a lot of disadvantages, as we already know. So there's a quest to look for alternatives for the increment of food to meet the demands of the increasing populace. This has led us to look for alternatives such as biofertilizers, which are a particular type of organic fertilizer that are embedded with living microorganisms. Biofertilizers have a whole lot of advantages compared to chemical fertilizers. Their manipulation can be targeted to address a particular deficiency in the soil in order to improve production of food. And the microbes could be introduced to plants in various ways. The seeds could be embedded with these living microorganisms before planting. We could also introduce them into the rhizosphere. They could be introduced into the stomata, into the wounds, and they could also come as root nodules, especially in leguminous plants. They have different mechanisms. These microorganisms, they improve plant growth through different mechanisms. Some are direct and some are indirect. Some of the direct mechanisms include nitrogen fixation, because not all plants are able to fix nitrogen directly. So what these microorganisms do, they fix nitrogen to a form that can be utilized by these plants. Then they could also produce antibiotics as an indirect mechanism. There's something we also call induced systemic resistance. It's something they use to, it comes up, it's a mechanism that is activated during disease suppression. Microorganisms have been reported in various studies, even from our lab, to increase crop yield and the production of food. So it's just biofertilizers could be ecologically engineered. They could be targeted to meet a certain deficiency, unlike their conventional chemical counterparts. In conclusion, ecological engineering of the soil ecosystem can serve to meet the increase in need for food without jeopardizing environmental sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amoo. It's wonderful to have your contribution here as well. Let me just check. Do we have Dr. Nicholas back? Dr. Nicholas, can you hear me? Nothing yet. All right. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really looking forward to introducing our director of our niche area to you, Professor Olubukola Babalola. Now, Professor Babalola is not just a scientist. She is truly gifted as a project manager, a leader. She studied at our own Northwest University Business School. Professor, it is great to have you here. And already we've been exposed to the people working under your leadership. So we are looking forward to hear from you as well.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I'm extremely grateful to the Northwest University because the platform at which we operate is the Northwest University. And I'm extremely grateful to the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture also because I'm a product of that institute. So I feel honored to have Dr. Kumar with us. Thank you, Dr. Kumar. And thank you to all the people that have spoken. I'm only going to cap all that we have said together. This is the International Year of Plant Health. It means a lot. And we are joining the world as the Northwest University to boldly declare the mandate that we are out in support of plant health management. Did you know that plants are the source of the air we breathe and even the food we eat? Earlier on, our veterinary professor was speaking. Even the animals, what they eat, comes from plants. So you see how everything is interwoven in plants. And we cannot take the issue of plants with levity. So it is crucial. And that we also know the amount of devastation that results as a result of our nonchalant attitude towards plant health. Do you know that the Food Agricultural Organization has estimated that up to 40% of food crops are lost due to plant pests, and also as a result of diseases annually? This leaves millions of people without enough food to eat and seriously damaging agriculture. The primary source of income of even many rural poor is being wasted. So why not join force with us to protect plant resources and reduce trade losses? You could be the change maker. And I'm looking forward to people to team up with us in terms of collaboration, in terms of coming to study with us, in terms of even being as stakeholders in these projects. Plant health is increasingly under threat. And as one of us spoke about, issue about climate change, issue about human activities, all these things are altering the ecosystem. They are reducing biodiversity. They are creating new niches where pests can thrive, and they are creating damages. Do you have passion for ecology? If so, come, let us, together do an integrative approach to solve the problem that is at hand. Also, the issue about protecting plants. When we protect plants, we are protecting our future. We are protecting the future of the yet unborn babies. Why? Because when we don't protect, the pests and the diseases are going to cause losses. And these losses is far more effective when we protect the environment than dealing with the full-blown plant health emergencies that will occur. So plant pests and diseases are often very impossible to eradicate once they have established themselves. Currently, we know what is going on about locusts in Kenya, and Dr. Lavakuma also mentioned the one in South Africa about the banana issue. Prevention is critical to avoiding the devastating impact of pests and diseases in agriculture. And we know livelihood and food security, and many also all revolves and play good role about this. So we cannot toy with it. We cannot take it with levity. We encourage everyone listening, considering to study, to look up to coming to Northwest University. And here you will find a place, you will find home. I must mention that the people that have spoken, the 4 people that have spoken that are postdocs, they are products. 3 of them are products of the Northwest University. You can just Google them. And also the other lady that spoke with passion about the underutilized vegetable is a representative of the Organization for Women in Science for the Developing World. And you'll see the attitude, the charisma with which she spoke, she was relating it to even how housewife can get something doing, because even in your backyard, you can contribute to zero hunger. We can all work together to have what we call sustainability. So we want to salvage deforestation. We want to control soil and pollution problem, water pollution issue. We want to restrict invasive plants species. We want to curtail climate change. We want to protect our plant resources. We want to reduce trade losses. And this can only be possible when people like you and I come on board to support the agenda. We are in tune with the International Year of Plant Health. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Babalola. It's wonderful to see the passion for your field as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have quite a few questions coming through. So anyone on the panel, if you feel that you can answer, please do so. The first question we have is certain Fusarium, SPP. can be used as biocontrol on various pests. Do you consider these SPP as potential problems? And this would then be certain fusarium SPPs.
I think I can answer that. Most of fusarium species are actually pathogens. They're not used as biological control agents. However, there is a strain of Fusarium oxysporum, which is emphatic. That is a non-pathogenic fusarium, which is found in plants, which provides some stimulator growth. So, but in general, most of fusarium species are pathogenic species. However, that's why we're looking for penicillium, trichoderma. These are biological control agents. I'm sure there are many more which we still need to identify. I hope I answered the question.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Khosi. Really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, our next question. Trans-border spread of invasive organisms include weed species, of course. South Africa has to contend with many alien invasive plant species, the latest since about 2017, of which is Amaranthus palmeri, an endemic plant of the southwestern part of the USA. A big concern connected to this weed is its rapid development of resistance to many important herbicide groups, thus making its control very difficult. So perhaps if someone would speak about this trans-border spread of invasive organisms and how to control them.
I can comment on that one. It is a very important issue. When it comes to transboundary invasions, it is not only just insects and pathogens, but also weeds. So they are very important in terms of the economic impact they can cause within the country. Every country has a quarantine agency, and these are the frontline defense forces. And these organizations conduct inspections, etc., in any product that comes into the country. But one of the challenges, particularly in Africa, is our borders are porous. There are numerous entry points through which the material can come legally or illegally without the scrutiny of the quarantine authorities. As a consequence, there is a high chance in Africa for some of these invasive species to get introduced unintentionally most often, and they get established. And in some environments, when these invasive species find it suitable for establishment, like the example you have given, amaranth, they go really viral, to say so. They can really go, they can rapidly spread because of the very high seed set and their robustness to withstand different climatic conditions. The management of this requires a thorough approach, most often at the beginning. As soon as the new invasive species is detected, if an action is taken for before it expands to wide areas, it is possible to control. But once it moves into wide areas, to give an example like Corona, COVID-19, then it becomes too difficult because it is pervasive, it is everywhere. Then it comes at a huge cost of management. There are numerous approaches. There are already several weeds within the boundaries that have been well established. They have been controlled using herbicides or other mechanical approaches. But this particular example that you have given, you mentioned it is herbicide resistant. That means this is a material that may have come along with seed consignments, where it is grown in the fields where they are regularly using herbicides for management, and this particular weed may have established resistance to herbicide. It makes it very hard to manage weed that already has herbicide tolerance. So unfortunately, it requires a completely different strategy. One approach is to go for some pathogens that could affect exclusively this particular the plant or mechanical approaches. But in general, this is a big threat. Last year, there was an intercontinental meeting that was held in Nairobi, particularly looking at the invasive pest spread risk within 2 African countries. A strategy has been developed and it is available online, and I can share the link for those who want to know a bit more about the current status and what plans are in place to contain this in Africa.
Dr. Kumar, thank you so much. It seems as if there's still a lot of work to be done in Africa when it comes to regulatory and policy drafting and implementation, caretaking, monitoring as well. It's very difficult with porous borders to manage this. Thank you, Doctor.
Indeed.
Our next question, this one refers to antibiotics. Are there steps to improve prudent use of antibiotics in animal husbandry, which is the primary cause of multi-drug resistance emergence? So I don't know, Professor Ateba, perhaps to you? Oh, mute. Perhaps we'll see if we get to Professor Ateba in a short while on the antibiotics. I'm sure that it's something he would like to comment on as well. Another comment for you to answer. Surely diseases and infestations which affect plants are merely symptoms of poor or limitations in soil health, and the remedial control should be aimed at restoring soil health, avoiding the poisons which are destroying ecological systems. Perhaps something from one of you on soil health?
Can I comment on that? Yes, it's correct, partly correct. Normally, when you're talking about soil health, they're looking at soil macro biodiversity, where you have rich carbon source, and then that will provide all the beneficial microorganisms which are preventative or suppressive to the soil-borne diseases. So that's why the issue of sustainability comes in terms of sustainable agriculture. You want to minimize chemicals, minimize the destructive form of tillage, which depletes the soils from, in terms of organic material, in terms of soil structure. So he's definitely correct. The aggressive, vigorous growing plant will be able to escape or outgrow the disease. Not necessarily that you won't get infection, you get infection, but the plant itself will be able to outgrow and produce yield. You cannot get rid of diseases that are part of an ecosystem, but you can live with them in a productive way. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to biofertilizers. Biofertilizers. Quite a few comments here, and we'd like to know a little bit more about the biofertilizers. Specifically, let me see, how can one learn more? Is there a specific study on biofertilizers? And can biofertilizers be used to address the specific deficiency in plants? So anyone on biofertilizers?
Can I answer that?
Please.
Biofertilizers can be used to address specific deficiencies in plants. We could actually target what we want to improve in plants. Sometimes if it's nitrogen deficiency, if it's phosphorus, we are able to recruit microorganisms. Microorganisms can address that particular deficiency are recruited and reintroduced into the soil, or they could be used for seed coating or any other strategy. But yes, we can address specific deficiencies in plants. And the question about learning about biofertilizers, yes, there are avenues for learning about biofertilizers. You could even come to our lab, then we'll give you some training on it. Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for the invitation. I hope people take you up on it. Dr. Ramachela, Dr. Khosi, here's another question specifically directed at you, sir. Do we have recent diagnostic and detection, easy to use and affordable tools that farmers can use for basic diagnostics, perhaps a cell phone or laptop application. What do you have an answer on that, Dr. Khosi?
That's an interesting question. We are currently working on a pilot project where you're looking at identifying CBS, that is the citrus black spot. We're using artificial intelligence, where we are visualizing that a farmer using an app can take a picture, which should be able to identify the CBS, and that picture, maybe the GPS coordinates where the disease is occurring, sort of feed into central database of the country, so that the plant pathologist or plant protection research institute is able to monitor occurrence of different diseases. It's an area which we are currently investigating. I think someone else in Florida is working on something similar. It's an area which is quite interesting to get into.
Thank you, Dr. Khosi. Really appreciate it. Professor Babalola, I'd like to throw this next question to you to answer. It's actually more of a comment which speaks to our human diet. A human diet of diverse whole plant foods offer us the best protection against non-communicable diseases, which are now epidemics. Professor Babalola, do you agree that our diet has such a direct link to how we are guarded against non-communicable diseases?
Truly, I agree with that. And you will also know that you are what you eat, because that is what composes you. And you only get what you give back to the soil from the product of the soil. The way nature makes it, everything is perfect. It is in order. But because of the way we tamper with nature, by the use of chemicals, with pollutions in form of heavy metals due to mining effects and many other things, we are damaging the soil. And when the soil is damaged, it can only return what it can offer, the remnant from what it can offer. So we have what we eat. And this is also a clarion call to each and every one of us to give back to the mother earth, to give back to the soil, because the soil is the one that will also take care of us in return.
Thank you, Professor. Professor, we have time for one more question and answer, and then I'd like to come back to you to conclude for us. The question reads, it's all about synthetic chemical pesticides. There are so many available in agriculture and currently being reduced by new regulations worldwide. So the question is, do we have natural products-based pesticides to replace the chemical compounds? Is there such a thing available, natural products-based pesticides?
The commercial synthetic pesticides are produced by big companies, very powerful companies. And there's also, when farmers are looking at for organic farming, looking at less use of chemicals, it is a challenge because it is not yet perfected. The efficiency is not as much as the synthetic chemical as such. There's aspect of defensive aspect, the way the plant is resistant to these pests and diseases, where GMOs are coming in, but also there's a war against GMOs, and I'm one of the people who's not pro-GMO. So it is an area which still needs to be tackled. But my view is small is liquor. When farmers growing on a small scale, they'll be using less chemical and more organic material and more dependent on biodiversity and biocontrol as opposed to large-scale commercial protection systems, which is dependent on massive and extensive use of chemicals which are toxic to the environment and to people as well. To make particularly herbicides, we have glyphosate, which is seen to be now carcinogenic, The other one, the atrazine, is carcinogenic with the herbicide. So it can survive in the soil or in the water bodies for 2 years, and it affects cancerous situations. That is an area which we are still working on.
Dr. Ramachela, I really appreciate it. Precision is so important even within this field. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end. I see that we're only basically getting started and already we say goodbye. But if you want to engage with us a little bit more, you're more than welcome to do so. You have now seen the experts of the Northwest University, and you know that we are well connected. So also a special word of thanks to our special guest, Dr. Kumar. It was also nice having you here. I'm going to hand over to Professor Babalola to have the final word and to say goodbye to all those of you who have stayed connected with us. Thank you so much. Feel free to contact us and we'll respond to your questions. Professor Babalola, we are in your hands for goodbye.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming on board. And I'm going to wish you all a happy International Year of Plant Health. And as a reiteration, why I also tagged Dr. Lava Kumar for honoring our invitation, I want to reiterate that food security and safety are under 3 groups in Northwest University. We have food production and availability, and that is led by Dr. Sydney Mavengahama. We also have food affordability and accessibility, led by Professor Simon Letsohalu. We also have the one that is specifically now food safety, and that is led by Professor Collin Ateba. So whichever group you fall into, you will find something doing to contribute to plant health. Thank you for coming on board. We really appreciate you. Please go to our website and collaborate with us. Come and study at the Northwest University. We are the best. Thank you.